Hi, it's Vex, and today we still have more Commander Legends decks to go through because I just can't stop. I know there's Kaldheim previews going out, new Thor card I'm really excited about. However, I'm still excited about Commander Legends. I can't stop building these decks. And, well, because I can't stop building these decks, I'm going to have more deck techs because I just love Commander Legends. Anyways, today we have our Mardu commander, Ghen, Arcanum Weaver. So again, it's kind of like an Enchantress type style deck. Let's read Ghen real quick. So it costs 1 red, white, black, and the same for its activation cost. Tap, sack an enchantment, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's kind of like a Mardu version of a Goblin Welder, but for enchantments. So previously, I had one other Enchantress deck, Layla, right there, which focused on tokens and anthems. But here, what we're focused on is essentially sacking enchantments and resurrecting enchantments back from our graveyard. So this deck requires a lot of enchantments. Unfortunately, we don't have the blue. The main Enchantress colors, I think, are like Zur the Enchanter, which is an Esper, and Tuvasa, which is banned. But it's really cool to have a Mardu Enchantress style deck. So since we're playing a lot of enchantments, they make a lot of tokens. So always have your tokens ready. Definitely the Monarch token. And what we want to do is I call it swapping out. Take an enchantment from your battlefield, swap it in your graveyard. Swap out some big enchantments from your graveyard to the battlefield. So let's take a look at some of these enchantments we want to swap out. So I essentially have these 4 big enchantments because Ghen is actually expensive. You got to pay the 3 and then pay another 3 and have an enchantment on the battlefield to actually get anything, and have an enchantment in the graveyard to actually make use of Ghen. So I consider his ability a bonus for the most part if you could activate it with something big in the graveyard. But that's why I didn't include that many big things, because sometimes you just want to hard cast these big enchantments. So you have Sunbird's Invocation, which is really cool. So when you cast a spell, let's read it real quick. When you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the spell's converted mana cost. You may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana costs. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is really cool. Essentially, when you cast a spell, it just gives you a chance of having another spell X or less. So that's one of our big spells. This is 6 mana, so this is usually castable. But of course, when you cast this, it's kind of like a do nothing right away, because you just essentially do nothing unless you cast a second spell. Captive Audience. So I've always really wanted to play this card in EDH. I think you can play in Blim, Comedic Genius decks, but of course this just auto donates to an opponent. And it's really cool because when it enters the battlefield, just give it to one of your opponents. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Your life total becomes 4, so put your opponent's life total at 4. Discard your hand. Each opponent creates 5 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So that's really neat here. That's one thing. You still can hard cast, give it to the opponent that has the highest life total. Let's say they're playing a Laurel deck or something with they're at 60 life. Bam, give it to them. They'll eventually have 4 life and no hand. Another really cool card costs 7 mana. Grave Betrayal from Return to Ravnica. So what Grave Betrayal does is whenever a creature you don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control with an additional +1/+1 counter, so it makes it even bigger at the beginning of the next end step. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Grave Betrayal essentially just gives you back all the opponent's creatures that have died and make them bigger, 1/1, and make them zombies, but that might not be too relevant. But it's really cool here. And of course, we have the Big Daddy 8 mana white enchantment that we always want to play, Overwhelming Splendor. And this is insane. Too bad it doesn't affect all opponents. It's just an enchant player. But creatures enchanted player control loses all abilities and have base power and toughness 1/1. So essentially all the creatures are just 1/1 do-nothings. An enchanted player can't activate abilities that aren't mana abilities or loyalty abilities. Essentially, they can only activate Planeswalker loyalty abilities and tap their lands for mana. They can't even wasteland you and such like that. So this is insane. But again, this is still castable at 8 mana. I know it's a lot of mana. We're not playing green, so we're not ramping that hard. So these are kind of like a Ghen payoff that we still can hard cast if necessary. Again, sometimes it's hard to get things in the graveyard to use Gen's ability, but we'll go through some cards that have the ability to get themselves in the graveyard. So the next thing is, instead of showing you all the enchantments, I want to show you with the cards, like the enchantment related cards that do a certain function. Like basically the first set of cards are token makers, because we have few creatures. We're kind of buffed with lots of enchantments, so we have to have enchantments that make tokens to kind of win the game in a way. I mean, you can't just sit there with all your enchantments and not win the game, right? So you need some way to win the game. You have Arcanum Sun's Grace, makes Pegasus tokens with Constellation. When enchantment enters the battlefield, makes some Pegasus tokens, so that's good. Make some tokens. Luminarch Ascension, you sit there, protect yourself, eventually make some angels. Omen of the Sun. So this is a good enchantment that does something on enter the battlefield effect. Did I say that right? No, it does something when it enters the battlefield. Creates 2 white 1/1 human soldier tokens. And the cool part about it, in a lot of these cards here, that when it enters the battlefield, it already has its effect done, and it's got a minor effect for when you sacrifice it, but it just sits on the battlefield, and it's like Ghen fodder right here. You can just sack this. You don't lose too much. You sack this, bring something back. So these enter the battlefield cards are really cool. Very helpful with Ghen. So we loaded deck up with quite a few of those. Well, not a lot of those, but enough of those to make Ghen beneficial. Again, Court of Grace enters the battlefield, you get Monarch, so it does something on that. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit token with flying, but if you're Monarch, you can create a 4/4 angel. Essentially, if it's like really hard to get the monarchy back, you could sack this. I mean, you might lose out on the 1/1 spirit every turn, but this is still sack fodder, still good. Sigil of the Empty Throne, enchantment ETB, 4/4 angel, or actually it's when you cast enchantment spell, so that's different. I know some of these things are like when something ETBs, you gain something, but this is when you play enchantment, so when you cast enchantment spell. Of course, this deck is kind of man hungry. And non-green, so kind of you're not like super ramping fast. So I have essentially like 6 modal double face cards. The more I play with these modal double face cards from Zendikar Rising, the more I like them, because they're like they take out a land slot and essentially give you a spell if you have too much land. So it's like a flood protection, and also like the land count in Ghen right now is 34 regular lands and 6 modal double face cards. So my land count is kind of up to 40 in a way. So I have a lot of land, so I could have enough mana to do Gen's ability and also play enchantments on the same turn. But also gives me a flexibility of playing a spell when I have too much lands. So these cards are so powerful. This has nothing to do with enchantments, but it just makes 4/4 angels if you have nothing else to do, if you have a lot of land. So the next thing is some protection. Again, we need what I'm saying is we don't have a lot of creatures. So our enchantments actually double as creature tokens, or other effects like protection, removal, card draw, and stuff like that. So it's really cool. Like we actually get to buff up all the other categories by reducing number of creatures, increasing number of enchantments. And first is Alciad of Light's Bounty, has a 1/1 lifelink. But the important part is also enchantment itself, so you can sack it again. You sacrifice it, target creature or enchantment you control gains protection from a color of your choice until end of turn. So it allows you to protect something from getting destroyed. Greater Oromancy, again, this is like other enchantments you control. Shroud. Essentially, the bottom part doesn't really count unless some of my enchants are creatures, but enchanted creatures you control have Shroud. Blind Obedience. So this is one of the cards that has an effect, because it forces your artifacts and creatures of your opponents to come and play tapped. Has Extort, but it's also sack fodder too. Once it's done its duty, and kind of like, halts the beginning game, the middle game, you could just sacrifice it for something better. Karmic Justice. So I love Karmic Justice because people always want to destroy your stuff, and then whenever a spell or ability and opponent control destroys a non-creature permanent, which we're playing lots of, you may destroy target permanent that opponent controls. So essentially they have to destroy this one first, then you get to Vindicate something of your opponents, and then they can start destroying other things. Really good protection spell, good magnet. Again, don't be afraid to use some of these things as Ghen fodder. even if like a Karmic Justice is good, but like you might have Overwhelming Splendor in your graveyard, don't be afraid to use this. Of course, we're playing Enchantress in white. Always have Ghostly Prison, Sphere of Safety, very good protection from creatures attacking you. And then of course we want to give Ghen protection here, Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. So those items there. Then we have our removal slot. So we actually buffed up removal a lot. We have a lot of spell removal. We have a lot of board wipes. And we have a lot of enchantment removal. And the reason is, again, we're not playing that many creatures. So it doesn't hurt us that much. If we wipe the board, we have token generators that can just regenerate more tokens if we need. So that's why we buffed up our removal here. Again, white, ultra staple, Swords of Plowshares, D-Spark. Play black and white. I think this is a staple now too. Black and white, D-Spark, and English Unmaking. These three are the Orzhov staples right there, I consider. Generous Gift. You need to blow up land or wherever it is. Generous Gift can help you out. Again, I talked about Mold Double Face cards, Shatter Skull Smashing, Hagra Mauling. Very good here. Another Mold Double Face card, Onto Inversion. Again, don't be afraid to play these as lands. Like, just don't be afraid to just flip them over, play them as a land. I think most of the time, about 70-something% of the time, I'm going to use these as lands. 25% of the time, they're spells. The Onto Inversion, I use it mostly as lands when I play it because it destroys all non-land permanents. Because it can wipe it's like an emergency button. It can wipe your own enchantments and everything away from you. So just remember that. Blasphemous Act, very good. Ruinous Ultimatum. I mean, I play a Mardu deck. I have to play Ruinous Ultimatum because it's just like destroy everything else. Some enchantment removal, Doomwake Giant. I've loved Doomwake Giant ever since it's been printed, even in constructed formats like Standard. It's great. Just when anything like enchantment ETBs, creatures in opponent's control get -1/-1. Really good against token decks. So here's some other enchantment, and Doomwake Giant is also enchantment too. So don't be afraid to sack it again. Again, the story is don't be afraid to sack things to your commander. I know people hate losing value on the battlefield, but just this deck is made that way, so you don't have to be afraid of doing it. Doomwake Giant, Oblivion Ring. So there's actually a trick with Oblivion Ring because it has two effects, an ETB effect and a leaves the battlefield effect. So what you can do is play Oblivion Ring, have the enters the battlefield effect go on the stack, use Ghen's ability, sack Oblivion Ring for something else, have the leaves ability go on the stack. That will resolve first, and then you can exile something permanently with Oblivion Ring's first ability. So that's a trick with Ghen right there. Omen of Forge. I know this says only deals 2 damage, but sometimes you do that extra 2 damage really matters. It sits on the battlefield for Ghen's ability. It's really good. Seal of Doom. Same thing. Actually, it's a little different because here you get required to sack it. So you have optionality. You could sack this, get this to your graveyard, and use Ghen to get it back. Let's say you sack Omen of Forge, get Seal of Doom back to reuse again. So it helps get something into your graveyard for Ghen's ability. Same for Seal of Cleansing here. Enchantment, Artifact Hate. Or of Science, again, you can sack again to your graveyard. Elders Reborn. So this is cool because this actually will naturally go to your graveyard after 3 chapters. Gets rid of creatures, makes opponents discard cards, and reanimate some creatures. But the cool part is it naturally goes to your graveyard. Or if you want, before chapter 3, you could use Ghen's ability to sack it and put it in the graveyard. So it's got two useful modes. Same thing for Elspeth Conquers Death. You could let it naturally go in the graveyard and put it back with Ghen, or just sack it. So here's some tutors. Again, we have a lot of enchantments. So I kind of buffed the tutors up. I usually try to only play like around 2 tutors, but play enchantment deck. It's like, why not? Why not have more tutors? They're not card advantage because you have your Enlightened Tutor, which you put to the top of your deck. Same with Vampiric Tutor here. Entomb puts it in the graveyard, so you're not actually getting card advantage. The card advantage cards are actually the original OG Demonic Tutor, gives you the card advantage right there. and Idyllic Tutor gets you a card, enchantment in your hand. And then we have some card draw. Usually I don't have this much card draw in regular decks, but again, enchantments help me with more card draw because they're enchantments themselves. Mace Enchantress, whenever you cast an enchantment, draw a card. Remember, it's a cast trigger, not enter the battlefield. I know some are cast, some are ETB, so you just gotta remember that. Faithless Looting, so this is like card neutral, maybe a little card disadvantage, but it does things that lets you discard to put cards for Ghen in the graveyard. Same for Cathartic Reunion here. I know Valakut Awakening does not put things in your graveyard, but again, we want to have our modal double face cards. When we have too much of something we can't cast, we just cycle them away. So it's a very good card there. Phyrexian Arena. So these are the hurt yourself to draw a card enchantments. Phyrexian Arena. Again, don't be afraid to sack again if you're losing too much life. Demonic Lore. So this is super risky, but because it's in Commander Legends, I had to try it out. I want to try it out. I haven't drawn it yet, but it's let's read it. When Demonic Lore enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. So it's 3 cards for 3 mana. Very, very good rate. Except for the pain is at the beginning of your end step, you lose 2 life for each card in your hand. So this is one thing you want to sacrifice again because it has an ETB effect. It gives you cards, but it has a detrimental effect that triggers at the beginning of your every end step. So you want to maybe save this to when you can actually sacrifice it right away with Ghen. But again, if you need to draw 3 cards, draw 3 cards. You start with 40 life, so you can sacrifice a little bit of your life. That's what black does, right? Treacherous Blessing. Again, 3 mana for 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose a life. However, when Treacherous Blessing becomes a target of a spell or ability, sack it. So Ghen's sacrifice enchantment is not a target, so you can just still sacrifice Treacherous Blessing. It'll go to your graveyard. Liliana's Contract. Oh, I love this card. This is one of my pet cards from M19. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards. So it's 5 mana, 4 cards. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you control 4 more demons with different names. You win the game. That will never happen. We don't have that many demons or any demons at all, I don't think. Great fodder for Ghen. All right, so here's some of the utility cards I have. Graveyard Hate's important. Rakdos Charm is so versatile. You destroy an artifact, exile somebody's graveyard, deal 1 damage for each creature. So against token decks is really good. Ethereal Absolution, a little more Graveyard Hate. You can exile individual cards from graveyards. Of course, anti-token synergy by giving your opponent's creatures -1/-1 and buffing your creatures. So it does a lot of things. It's again a pet card of mine from Ravnica Allegiance. If you don't like it, you don't have to include it, but I just really love this card. Court of Ambition, another way to get the Monarch, kind of like Court of the White Court. I forgot what it's called. Court of Grace, I think. Except for opponents lose 3 life and discard cards. So it's really good. Agadeem's Awakening. So I know we're not playing that many creatures. This would be 95% land. But again, optionality is so great that you can play Agadeem the Undercrypt. That helps us get our land count really high. So we can have mana to cast our enchantments and play Ghen's ability. Sun Titan. More graveyard shenanigans. Get your stuff back. So if you naturally put a Seal of Cleansing or a Seal of Doom in your graveyard, you can Sun Titan it back. So it's really cool. It's like give you a little backdoor way of getting your permanents back. All right, here's some of the ramp cards. Starfield Mystic. So the cool part is it discounts your enchantments by 1. But also, this is very relevant in this deck, actually. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Starfield Mystic. So that's actually relevant because you sack enchantments a lot with Ghen. Keep it there. Cord. You're playing white, non-green. I think if you're playing white and you're not playing green and not doing any weird ramp shenanigans in other colors, Keep It Cord is really good because most times your opponents will play green because green is such a popular color in EDH, I figure, that you will get some lands. And then also you're not playing that many creatures too, so it'll probably help you produce creatures. So it's really good in this deck. Burnished Heart. Usually I have Solemn Simulacrum in these kind of decks, but again, this deck is more mana hungry, so I want to have 2-for-1s. So essentially, Burnished Heart is a good 2-for-1 lander here. Land tax, got to pull some more lands. It's an enchantment. Again, when land tax is not relevant anymore, sacked again. Playing white, Smothering Tithe. I mean, is there any question about that? Smothering Tithe is Smothering Tithe. The usual Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, Signets, Fellwar Stone. Again, in any non-green deck and 3-color plus deck, I love playing Fellwar Stone. It's kind of like Exotic Orchard, so it's really good ramp there. Go over the lands real quick here. We have Command Tower, of course, our Rainbow Lands, Exotic Orchard, Fellwar Stone on land. I think any 4-color plus deck is a staple. Any non-green Exotic Orchard is a staple for me. Nomad Outpost, they actually have the Triome for this. So, got those Rainbow Lands. Some fetch lands. I love playing on-color fetches because I actually can get this Triome. Or can get any of the shock lands here. I don't like playing off-color fetches because I can't get any of the basics I want. Like, you know, can only get one basic instead of the 2 different basics. So you got the shock lands. We finally finished out the Battle Bond type crowd lands, I guess, right here. Got the Horizon Canopy lands, type lands. Orborg, because, you know, why not? We're playing black. Might as well swap it out for a swamp. Bajuga Bog. Every black deck should have this. Graveyard Hate. I know I have like, you know, 3 Graveyard Hate spells in this deck. So, or spells or cards. Very good. Gallery Sanitarium. So this is actually kind of cool because it says each player draws a card, discards a card. You discarding a card helps, you know, power up Ghen. However, if you want some of those enchantments back, you can play Hall of Heliod's Generosity, get it back on top of your deck. Some of the basic lands here. It's actually more slanted towards white, so it's more plains. And it actually doesn't have that many red cards. So it has, if you see, I have 4 swamps and 4 mountains. But I do have, if you notice, I do have Bajuga Bog Orborg, so my swamp count is even higher. So that is the deck. All right, we're going to shuffle this deck up and do some little swapping in and out. We'll be right back. We are back. And I forgot to mention, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. Smash the subscribe button. Of course, hit the notification bell if you want to get notified when I have new videos. Anyways, let's start this deck tech right here. Our deck tech, what I'm talking about. I finished the deck tech. The Goldfishing, of course. I love the Goldfishing. It's so much fun. I mean, in this pandemic, sometimes you can't play with your friends. So, you know, you can always do some Goldfishing. I really enjoy Goldfishing. Definitely with combo decks, of course. All right, see what we got. A little, turn 1 land tax. Sweet. Exotic Orchard turn 1 is really bad. So let's do the hypothetical move where we are not the first player to play. So our turn 1 land tax actually means something. And even if we are the first player to go, somebody's going to have a green deck. They might ramp. Land tax might be important. And you can stack it again. So it's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. It's actually pretty decent in this deck. Okay, so let's go first. Turn 1 here. Spectator Seeding. Okay, that's pretty good too. Let's just play that Spectator Seeding. Sweet new Commander Legends card. Player land tax right here. Hopefully not too glary, right? Next turn, untap. Going to go our second turn, but of course, trigger land tax. Here, we have a mountain and plains right here. So let's just search for some more plains, of course. Plains and some swamps. Why not? Well, we don't want to discard swamp mountain. Let's get one of each. Right here. Shuffle our deck. Here. I know we gotta do a lot of shuffling. This is where Magic Arena helps because they shuffle for you, right? Put that into your hand. Next turn, draw a card. Now I have a whole fistful of cards. We have this Omen of the Forge. All right, let's play our swamp here. Omen of the Forge right here. It deals 2 damage to any target. If we don't have a creature, just don't be afraid. Deal it to the face, right? Somebody's face. Play Omen of Forge. 2 damage to somebody's face because we don't have a target. It's okay. You don't have to deal damage to some creature. We just want to play it so we don't have to discard too many cards. Here we're gonna discard a mountain. Our yard's important here, so let's move everything over a little bit. Discard a mountain. And then say go. All right, next turn. Well, we got Ghostly Prison we could play. Or play Ghen himself. All right, move to turn 3. Trigger land tax again, of course. Get our, let's get some plains. Oops, this came in upside down. Let's see here. I know there's a lot of searching here. Plains. I think we have our mountains, so we're just gonna let's see. This is up to. So let's get 2. We don't need all 3, do we? All right, let's do some shuffling here. Should be good enough. Don't want to waste your time sitting here watching me shuffle all the time. All right, put our 2 plains in hand. It's good here. Draw our card. Ooh, Cathartic Reunion. That's good. Helps us cast, well, not cast, discard things in a yard. I was thinking about playing Ghen this turn, but Cathartic Reunion is pretty good, right? I mean, I should play Ghen, play Cathartic Reunion next turn. The hard part is Ghen requires 3 mana to activate. So let's just play our planes that we drew. I think what we're going to do is play Ghostly Prison. We're going to take it a little slow, right? Ghostly Prison here. Bam. Sits here. This could be sacked. So we don't have any creatures, but now I have a little protection from getting attacked. All right, let's go to our next turn. I think we have some lands, a bunch of lands here. So what we're going to do is, let's trigger land tax again. Why not? Let's have some fun. Get our mountain. That's going to be discarded. Essentially what we're doing is getting cards so we can discard it to Cathartic Reunion. Get our plains, get 2 lands. Actually, just get our swamp. We don't need that. We're going to discard. I think we just want to just filter our deck, make our deck a little more denser of good cards. This really helps get our deck very concentrated with good cards and less basic lands. That's why people are willing to land tax maximum value and then discard. Actually, we'll just land tax our last land here. Sorry, they're like, this is the pile of land tax pile. Unfortunately, we haven't ramped much, so we're playing 1 land per turn, but we still have land tax, gives a little card advantage. So it's kind of like a card draw engine right now. So this is, oops, get our 3 lands, do our shuffle. I should have done a quick shuffle, huh? Do our shuffle, put these in our hand, and then draw our card. All right, there's a lot of things before. Wayfarer's Bow, that's some ramp, that's what we need. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. Well, since it's a base white deck, we're gonna play our plains. We need a lot more white than anything else. Let's see here. Play our Cathartic Reunion, see what we get. Maybe get 2 mana thing, 2 mana rock. So we gotta play our white and red here. Cathartic Reunion, and then an additional cost, you gotta discard 2 cards. So we're gonna discard a mountain. Then we're gonna discard, oh, we have too many plains. A plains. Here we draw 3 cards. Court of Ambition, oh, that sounds good. Court of Grace, double court, wow. And a plains. We have nothing else to play except for our Wayfarer's Bauble. We'll play that. We don't even have the mana to crack it here. And then discard time. So now we have 10 cards to discard. I think what we're going to do is use our natural discard to actually discard some of these enchantments here. But we probably want to discard our plains. We have too many. And then I really like Court of Grace. So I'll keep this Court of Ambition in there in the yard to use with Ghen, but Court of Grace I think I want to play next turn if possible. So that's that. And also remember to try to get the mana red, red, white, 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 black, black for the Ruinous Ultimatum. So we have 7. Do we have 7? We have 8 cards. We have to discard another card. I think I'll have to discard another plains. Okay. Then we say go. Turn 5. We still have protection, so you don't have to worry about dying too fast because it's hard for your opponents to attack us. I think we're going to just slow down on land tax because we have too many cards. We don't want to like start discarding too many lands because we won't have any lands left in our deck to play. So we'll just draw our card naturally. Grave Betrayal, that's sweet. Right there. Oh man, wish we could discard to. That was one like Court of Ambition. I wish I could discard at it, but nope. Let's play black so we have enough mana to play Grave Betrayal. What we can do is everybody's, hypothetically, if everybody has lots of creatures, we can play Blasphemous Act. So let's actually crack our Bauble. Get some more lands from our deck here. Tap some black and a white. Actually, no, we can't do that. Can't do that because we can't play our court. So what we can do is just play Court of Grace right here. Right there. And then let's say there's 8 creatures on the battlefield because everybody's playing tons of creatures. Play a 1 mana Blasphemous Act. Nothing happens to us because we don't have any creatures, which is great. We have the Monarch here. End of turn. Draw a card. Right here. Ooh, more lands. So now we can do land tax next turn. It's great for us. All right, turn 6. Remember, tech's pretty grind. Usually by turn 6, I've done some crazy stuff with other decks, but you got a little protection with Ghostly Prison, so you kind of, and you wipe the board, so it's not too bad for us. Okay, let's just land taxes. Keep digging for more lands. I think we're almost running out of basic lands. Look at that. I know we have more. Let's see here. A mountain. Let's take whatever basics we can find. Maybe just 2 basics here. A mountain and a swamp. Don't want to drain our deck of basics here, because we kind of need one for Wayfarer's Bauble. So let's just, you have a swamp in there. Do we have a plains left in here? Yeah, so just, it's always good to keep counting your basics. So we have a plains there for our Wayfarer's Bauble, so we can actually ramp with it instead of just being a useless artifact, land taxing too hard, right? All right, so turn 6 here. We're gonna get our 2 lands in hand, draw our card. Shadow Skull Smashing, that's also land. But now, since we have so many lands, we're going to use this as the spell itself as removal. Right here. All right. So what I would do is set up this mountain right here. And then we could ramp and set up for Ruinous Ultimatum next turn. Or Grave Betrayal. Or we can play Ghen. So we have all lands. Look at all these lands. Actually play Exotic Orchard is probably better, because it's like a rainbow land at this point. And what do we do? Well, we could see Wayfarer's Bauble. Let's see if we could do some Shadow Skull Smashing. Do X damage divided as you choose among 2 target creatures. So we could try this, right? We could play this card, or I think the best thing to do is play Ghen right there, Arcanum Weaver, and use our Bauble to ramp ourselves a white mana here. So find that last plains in there, right? There we go. Ramp ourselves right there. We're gonna assume no one took the monarchy away from us. We're gonna draw a card here. Okay, draw a card end of turn. Leon's Contract. Ooh, sweet card. Now we sacrifice again. Can do is now we have 9 cards. We could take the risk of putting this in our yard, but I don't think so. I don't think it was worth that risk. I think putting Lilian's Contract, actually, Lilian's Contract in the yard, and maybe a mountain yard. So we're discarding a lot. Because we could play this. If somebody kills Ghen during our round, we could still naturally play this. So it's still a great card to play. If somebody doesn't kill Ghen, let's say somebody doesn't kill Ghen during the whole round, we untap. We skip our land tax. We go to turn 7. We got to take extra turns with this deck. Starfield Mystic. Okay. We have choices now. Play our 8th land here. Play Ruinous Ultimatum, which I recommend saving till like the late, super late game. We could play these 2 cards, Starfield Mystic and Grave Betrayal, because it gives you 1 less. Or we could sort something out with Ghen. So ordinarily, if Grave Betrayal is in your yard, so let's do a hypothetical situation here. Let's say Grave Betrayal is in our yard from a long time ago, and Leon's Contract is in our hand. I'll say hypothetically we had that situation come up. So what we can do is just tap our 3 mana right here. Sacrifice. Let's say land tax is done. We're done with land tax. We don't have any lands left in our deck anyway. Sacrifice land tax. Bring back Grave Betrayal. That's pretty sweet, isn't it? Right there. And now you have Starfield Mystic and Lilian's Contract, which you could play in the same turn, I believe. This costs 4. No, you have 6 mana for that. So you play Lilian's Contract, draw 4 cards, but you have to discard some more cards. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Let's play Lilian's Contract. Draw 4 cards. Lose 4 life. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can discard some enchantments here. So Elves Reborn. So this is the hard part, right? There's so much cards. We'll probably discard. See, we'll keep Vault of Champions. That's a good card here. Anguish on Making. That's a really good. Shadow Skull Smashing. That's good. LC. That's good here. I think Eldest Reborn will be discarded in a mountain to put us back at set. Even 8. I'll discard another card. Wow. I'll just discard this. How many swamps do we have? 2 swamps. I'll discard the swamp here because you have Vault of Champions. All right, so we're gonna start 8th turn with all these cards. Assume we have the Monarch. Trigger, draw a card. We got discard another card. All right, I guess the name of this deck is all about discarding, right? Yeah, so much good card advantage here. Oh, we totally forgot to make our little angels with our Core of Grace. So let's make some angels real quick here. Man, so many triggers. Let's say we forgot a trigger. We just made angel beginning of turn here. All right. So that's how the kind of deck works. If we take our next turn, we just untap, hypothetically, make an angel, Core of Grace, draw a card, play our land. Let's do this really quick because I spent way too much time on this deck. But it's pretty grindy. Just get ready for the long haul. Some decks are fast, some decks are slow. Play our land. Let's say screw it. Or play Ruinous Ultimatum. So we're going to tap 2 planes here. 1, and then play Arcane Signet. Why not? Play our Ruinous Ultimatum. So, get this. You play Ruinous Ultimatum, destroy all non-land permanents of your opponent's control. And guess what you have on the battlefield? Grave Betrayal. That's right. Not only do you get to wipe their board, you get to steal their board. Wombo combo. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. I love this deck. This deck is really grindy, and it's got some great wombo combos. I didn't even think about it until right now, but this is insane right there. Same for Blasphemous Act. You got Grave Betrayal, Blasphemous Act. It's actually Grave Betrayal, any board wipe combo. So anyways, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. Smash the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you want to get alerted for when I make new videos. And as always, have a wonderful day.